Hi, I'm Rob.
I'm Katie.
And we're
Living, Loving Disney.
Come join us on our podcast where we talk about all things Disney.
Like our trips and cruises, our DVC resorts, tours of the park, after-hour parties, and our family's crazy Disney life.
We've got some older episodes for you to listen to and get to know us a little bit.
Keep on dreaming.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob.
And Katie.
Welcome into this episode of Livin' Lovin' Disney. All right, Katie, we got some Mickey bits for you to start the episode off. Take her away.
Just one that caught my eye as I was reading the news today. A lot of it we'd already heard, but this one was a little bit different. I knew they were coming back, but they've actually announced a date. They're bringing back 5 tours that are coming back. And we've done a few of the tours, and we really, really enjoyed them. So I would suggest them. If you have some little free time to do them, I would. So let me go through what tours are going to be open so that you guys can plot and plan. There is one in Magic Kingdom, and it is called The Keys to the Kingdom. And we have done that one before. Very, very enjoyable. Definitely got a lot of backside magic and stuff that Rob really enjoyed when he went.
Yeah, behind the scenes stuff. It's really cool.
Yep. And then there's 4 at Animal Kingdom that are coming. Caring for Giants, Savor the Savannah, Up Close with Rhinos, and the Wild Africa Trek. Each one is uniquely different.
And they range from, what, $139 to $200 bucks.
$115 to $199 to be specific.
So that's about the range of these. I think Keys of the Kingdom is probably the cheaper of the 3.
Correct. Some of them include a meal. Some of them have rides inclusive. In the Animal Kingdom, they have one that has a lunch included. Like I said, they're all a little bit different. One of them's a trek that you hike out. That has great cool reviews. Everyone says it's a wonderful thing to do. That's probably the most expensive one there is that they have. The Caring for Giants is about the elephants. Savor the Savannah is some African-inspired food out on the savannah. It's a private luncheon, kind of a cool experience all by yourself, kind of out in the middle of it. And
from what I understand, you can look up these, some of these, and actually give you a menu, because you do have meals on some of these, and not all of them, but they do have a menu that you can look at too.
Yeah,
so
we looked at it earlier. And then Up Close with Rhinos, of course, easily described, is backstage magic with the rhinos and the new baby rhino that has been born. And then the Wild Trek Africa is a 3-hour trek, exhilarating safari adventure into the Animal Kingdom. So you cross the swinging rope bridge near the crocodiles. You get a beautiful view of the giraffes and the rhinos and hippos, and you get to ride on a private savannah ride in your vehicle. So it's quite a journey.
Sounds pretty cool.
It is kind of cool, and everyone really talks very, very good about it. So they say it's very worth it. So give them a try. There's a lot more tours coming. As I've been reading, they are still missing quite a list.
I think there's something in
like
every
22
every
different
park, I think.
Different ones that aren't here yet, but they're coming.
But it's nice to know that these are booting up again.
Yeah, it's the beginning of things changing, which is nice. So give that a try sometime. Definitely worth your time.
Yep. And let's see, most of these you have to be 16 or older to go alone. Otherwise, you'd have to have a parent with you, and I think the age is, 8 years old or something like that, as long as you're accompanied by an adult. So that's how that goes. So anyways, guys, tonight we have a great little talk. I don't know if it's an interview or anything, but we have a special guest on our podcast. It's Danielle from Danielle Fandom Faves on Instagram. Check her out on Instagram. She is really a ball of fire. When we were talking to her, it was a lot of fun, and she was a cast member, and you'll see when you hear the episode. So
complete Mickey nerd, just like the rest of us.
Yep. So if you're into that and a lot of Disney talk, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, Danielle, we enjoyed her, and we will talk with her again. So take a listen. I think you'll enjoy it.
All right, guys. See you in the next segment. Hi, everybody. It's Rob and Katie from Living, Loving Disney, and we have a special guest tonight. We have Danielle with us.
Hi.
Hi, Danielle. Hi. So, Danielle, one thing I wanted to ask you just to begin with, are you, do you just do an Instagram kind of post thing or on Instagram, or what do you do something like that?
Yeah, so I have my Instagram is my main one, but I do have a blog, but I'm working on getting it where I want it to be. So right now it's just kind of there.
Okay.
I haven't really done a lot with it for a while, but I've got some plans to do that. Up until mid-September, I was a cast member at our local Disney store. And so not necessarily hands tied, but kind of a little bit on what I could and couldn't post about.
Okay.
And so I kind of didn't get into that as much as I wanted to. But now that I'm not a cast member anymore, I'm going to try and dive into it a little bit more than I've been.
So you had mentioned that you're a cast member at that store for 8 years. Is that
almost
correct?
8 years. November 3rd would have been 8 years.
So how was that? How was it working in the Disney store?
I loved it. It was my little home away from home. I loved it. And I had the best people ever that I got to work with. So I miss them a lot. It's been...
So what was your favorite thing about, I mean, there's probably more than one thing, but what was your favorite thing about working in a Disney store?
Yeah, I mean, it's retail. So, I mean,
Right.
At the very basic, it's still retail, and you still have the retail stuff that you have to do. But I was also an ambassador for our store. And so I got to do all the events. And I love doing the events. I got to hang out with all the little kids. And whenever there was a new movie that would come out, we would be doing like the promotional stuff for it.
Okay.
And so a lot of the times, like a movie would come out at the end of the month. And then all the Saturdays leading up to the movie release, we would be doing events, and it would get the kids excited for the movie. And they'd kind of get some like sneak peeks to it. And
what kind of events were these? What kind of events did you do in the store?
So mostly a lot of them were movie promotional type events. So we had a little gazebo with this giant screen that we would do. They would have a script that we would go off of, and then they would usually provide some sort of like little trinkety kind of giveaway thing that we could give to the kids during the event. And usually it would be introducing the characters for the movies, kind of showing them what the plot line was going to be a little bit, so that they were excited to go see it, and they wanted to go and, meet see these new characters that were coming out.
Right.
We also would do Christmas ones. So we would do a Christmas wish every night at 7:00 from November through New Year's. And so that was really fun to have the kids write down their Christmas wishes, and we'd all make a wish on the wishing star. And then during the summer, we would do summer play days where the kids would come, and we basically had freedom to do any of our events that we had big binders full of different events that we could do. And then some of them were based around Disney Junior shows. Some of them were based around other movies and different characters. And so we had freedom to do whatever we wanted during summer play days. And then for like 4 years in a row, we would give the kids little buttons or patches if they came to the event. And then if they collected all of them, they got one big thing at the end of the summer for coming to all the events.
Oh, cool.
So I basically was in charge of and ran all these events with, there was one other ambassador at the store. So we usually did all the events.
That's pretty cool. I never knew
Disney
I love
Kids
that.
camp.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Huh?
Never knew they did all that stuff at the Disney
We had
stores.
a lot of people that would come back, like, especially in the summertime, because they were collecting all of them. We'd have them come every week. And the couple of summers that I was pregnant with my two that I had while I was there, it was really funny because by the end of the summer, the moms were like, "You're pregnant." And I'm like, "Yeah, clearly." You watched my belly grow for 3 months. So those are kind of fun moments where the moms were like, "I didn't want to say anything, but you're pregnant, right?" I'm like, "Yeah."
It's a watermelon.
It's getting bigger on purpose. Those were really fun times. And we got to know a lot of our guests because I was there for so long. And we had a lot of locals who would come back, but we also had a lot of tourists. And so we got to see a lot of guests. Oh, yeah, because Salt Lake's such an international hub for the airport.
So was it in the airport?
It's not in the airport, but the airport's just outside of Salt Lake. And then there's a tracks line that will take you downtown. And it's free in like a certain zone. And so most people would hang out at the mall and then just hop on tracks and head out to the airport. And so we got a lot of travelers.
Wow.
we actually had a big map in our backstage where we would put pins in where we would meet people from around the country, around the world. So every time somebody was new from an area that we hadn't gotten one, we got to go and push a pin in, and we had them all over the place. It was awesome.
That's cool.
Wow, I never knew that.
I didn't know that existed. That's cool.
Yeah, in a Disney store. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever dress up like any of the characters or anything at the Disney store?
No, they're very specific on that. Like you have to be, you have to be very well trained to do that kind of stuff. But when a Disney store would open and have its grand opening for the very first time, Mickey and Minnie would come. And so when we opened in 2012, I wasn't a cast member at the time, but I was a very good guest, and I would come and I was there at opening. And so my oldest was, 4 at the time.
Okay.
No, 5, I think. She's 14 now. So it was a while ago. But we went to grand opening and got to pictures with Mickey and Minnie. And so that was a lot of fun to be able to see that. So that was the only time an actual character was there. But a lot of the time, like, they would film them and they were part of our events. And so you would see them on the screen, but they just weren't actually in the store.
Gotcha.
That's pretty awesome.
Gotcha. I find it really sad that the storefronts are closing. I really, really miss them. I don't want to just shop online. I like to walk in the stores.
Yeah, there was really no particular reason, I would think. I would think they're always busy in there.
It's the personal touch.
We were very busy. We were in that last round of stores closing, and most of us were like, oh no, they're going to close us. They're not going to close us. And so when we got the news, it was pretty sad. It was pretty devastating. We weren't quite ready for that.
Yeah.
I know when they first announced that, I think we had just gone to Florida, and they have the one in the airport there. I think it's still there, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. That one is.
Sorry.
Right.
I got it gone.
At least it's a Disney song.
It's a Disney song.
It's appropriate.
But it was kind of a bummer to hear that happen. But it sounds like it was a pretty good experience for you there. So that's pretty cool.
I loved it. I had a great family. My Disney family, I love them all so much. And I think that's what makes it even more special, is that you just get to go and hang out with all these people that have the same interests as you. It's not just a normal job where you go and, like, I talk to people all the time, and they're like, oh, I go to work and nobody understands my Disney side. And I'm like, I go to work and that's all we talk about.
I know. That's Katie at her work.
Yeah.
Like
I have Mickey all over my desk, and, I half the time I got my Disney Vacation Club shirt on. This is straight from work. And they know I'm an absolute Disney nerd. I mean, I just am. But they don't understand it. They're like, where are you going on vacation? I'm like, I'm going to Disney World. And they're like, you just went there.
You just did that.
I'm like, well.
We like going. So, yeah.
See, we're over there rotating weeks to try and make sure everybody gets a chance to go. Like, everybody kind of like has to coordinate because everybody goes so often.
Yeah.
So, and back before COVID, when like there's no reservations or whatever, most of us, if we even got because we're exactly 10 hours from Disneyland here in Salt Lake. If we got even a Friday and a Saturday, or like 2 days off in a row, guaranteed they went to Disneyland.
That's
and
right.
everybody would just buzz down there and then buzz back for a couple of days. So we all
love
went.
it.
Yeah, we used to go.
Every
we were trying to go to Disneyland once a year, and then Disney World once a year. And when we went to Disneyland, it was usually just her and I.
It's our
anniversary trip.
So that's awesome.
We'd go down there, and I grew up down there, so that's kind of my park that I kind of like the best. Even the Disney World's pretty awesome. But,
Disney World's awesome. I just love it just feels so huge.
It is.
It was. I went when I was 16. Forever ago, but then I didn't go again until 2018, and we were staying in Art of Animation, and we got on the shuttle to go to Magic Kingdom, and we were like, how much longer is this shuttle ride?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Where are we going? It was crazy. And so we were like, everybody's like, yeah, it's like a 20-minute shuttle ride. I'm like, to the park?
Yeah, it's pretty big.
So that was different, because usually we'd gone to Disneyland all those years before, and so that was kind of eye-opening, because I was like, wait.
It is. And for us now, when we go to Disneyland, It's just two of us, but I feel like we have a 13-hour drive, 12-hour drive down unless we fly. And then you're either jet lagged or super tired from driving. Yep. And then you run your butt off for the next 3 days and then drive home. And you get back home to work and you're like, I need a vacation because you've done nothing but run and drive. Yeah, you haven't slept. Totally. You don't want to waste any time. So that's how you feel down there.
The last 2 times we went there, we flew into John Wayne Airport, which is like
so much nicer.
10 or 15 minute drive from.
I love that one.
Yeah. So I was like, we're only flying into here. I'm not going to LAX.
Yeah, that was the last time we drove.
And that was the last time we drove. I'm like, we're doing this and we're taking the shuttle to the.
Yeah.
Or we rent a car or whatever.
Yeah.
Long Beach is another good one. If you fly in, Long Beach is another one that's just right there.
Yeah, that's
it's tiny. It's this tiny little airport, and you're like, this is it? Okay.
Well, when we flew into John Wayne, we're like, this is like the same. It's the same airport layout as the airport here in Oregon that we go to. It's our airport's small, but it was like 3 times bigger, and there was nobody in there. I mean, nobody. I'm like, it's bizarre.
This is great.
It's not LAX. LAX is like intense to me.
Yeah.
Super intense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. When we traveled to Disney World, I mean, I like both worlds, but both land and world. But when I go to Disney World, I tell him I feel like it's more of a vacation. I love Disneyland. It holds a special spot. When we go to Disney World, I have the resort, and I actually enjoy the bus rides. I enjoy the time to separate those rides into 4 different areas. I can really enjoy each area of the park per day instead of run.
Yeah. Have you done the Skyliner on?
Oh, yes. I love it.
Love the Skyliner.
I love it.
It's pretty
awesome. When it first started, everyone kept saying it's going to break down, and I had people getting stuck on it. And then
I did hear about those.
Yeah, the people that would get stuck would get like days in the park, and they would get resort reservations and gift cards.
We're all like, we'll get stuck.
So we were like,
for that.
So you can't get on and want to get stuck. We were like, okay, everybody pee first, got snacks, got water, got my charger. Let's go.
Let's do this.
Let's do this thing.
But it is cool because you got all the view up there is really, really cool.
It's nice beautiful.
Day. It is gorgeous. And if you ever take the Skyliner all the way up to the Riviera, you go up there and have breakfast. It's the most beautiful view from the Riviera in that dining room. It's just gorgeous.
I did that this summer and I loved it. That was my favorite meal we had while we were there. Like I said, I traveled way too much this summer, this whole year. And so I've actually did Disney World twice. Anyway, like I said, I traveled way too much.
That's good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. We literally started the year at Disney World in January. My husband surprised us last Christmas.
Nice.
With a New Year's trip. And so we packed up, he told us on Christmas Day, and I looked at the paper that he'd given me and I'm like, wait, we're leaving in 5 days? What? And so he arranged everything. And so we flew off and we were there and it's more of a vacation. We were there for like 10 days.
Yep.
And that was our Christmas. And usually when we go to Disneyland, it's like 3 mad dash days.
Yep.
So yeah. I get that.
It's a totally different experience.
The dining and the shows, it's a different experience.
Totally.
But I tell you, it's the cast members too. They make everything so nice and so special. And we talk a lot about making sure that you spread the love when you're in the park. I see on Facebook so much everyone complaining. And they complain about there not being magic and, this, that, and the other. And, really, we've been there twice during this pandemic. And the magic's within you. It's what you make of it. And if you take time to say thank you to your cast members and spread that smile and spread the love, it keeps going. You don't have to complain. Everything's may not be what we're used to, being the spoiled people that we are, that we've been there many times. It's not the same. I can't go hug Mickey, which breaks my heart, but it didn't suck the magic out of me and I could still find it. Everyone's just got to try harder.
I actually kind of love I want to still be able to hug them someday, but I want them to keep the distanced interactions as well, because we see so many rare characters now that we didn't get to see before. And to be honest, we always would make choices between, do we wait in a 2-hour line to go see Mickey, specifically at Disneyland, you'd have to go all the way back into Toontown and go through his house. And it was a minimum of a 2-hour wait. And you're like, do we want to see Mickey today or do we want to get on the rides? Okay, we come often enough. Let's just go on the rides. So it kind of depended on the kid. It also depended on like the very first time. So I have one that's 14. I have a 7-year-old and almost 3-year-old. And the very first time my 7-year-old went to Disneyland, she was 8 weeks old.
Oh, man.
And because I mean, I have a 7-year gap. And so, you know, I'm not going to wait. Oh, we can't go to Disneyland for a few years because the next one, you just go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And so my oldest was 7 and she was much more interested in doing the rides. And so I don't even think we saw any characters that whole trip because she was like, I don't want to wait in the rides, wait in the lines because she had seen them so many times. So now that they're just out and about and just kind of there and you just wander around and it feels more organic. It feels more like they live here. This is their home. You would see Minnie on her porch. You would see Tinkerbell. Like it feels more natural instead of standing in line, working your way through to see them for 15 seconds. Right. You know, you get, yes, we're missing the hugs, but I think we're seeing more characters than we've ever seen before.
I mean,
and that's kind of nice.
At Disneyland though, I mean, I don't know what it's like now. Disneyland, there's kind of, a lot of them are just walking around. I mean, they're not.
Some of them.
It's not like Disney World where you have to wait in the line for all of them. Nobody's just walking.
We didn't see a lot of characters when we were in Disney World. We were there 2 weeks. We saw Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and
we saw
Pluto up on the top of the scaffolding.
Sisters.
We saw the stepsisters.
But they were away. You know, they're away. They were distance.
The place that I saw them the most was actually in Epcot. I saw more in Epcot than I did anywhere else. We saw Alice and Mary Poppins in
did you?
We saw them in the parade.
In the UK or?
In the pavilion. Yeah, in the UK pavilion. We saw Pooh Bear. We saw Anna and Elsa in Norway. I saw Snow White over in Germany.
We
didn't see any of those.
Yeah, and then they did like this little car ride around and they took the princesses around and we saw them there. And then we saw Mickey, Minnie. So we actually saw most of our characters in Epcot. Yeah. And that was really cool because Alice was just out watering the flowers. Like she would normally, she would naturally be in her garden watering the flowers. And so we walk by and she's out there dancing with her. And it was just so like I said, it was just more organic. It just felt like, of course she lives here. Of course she'd be watering her garden. And that's where you would find her, is outside doing that. So
we did see Pooh Bear over there by Journey into Imagination. There's a little shaded field over there of grass. Yeah. We saw Pooh Bear
catching the butterflies. Did you see Mrs.
catching butterflies? Yeah. And there was another character there too, if I remember. I can't remember which one it was.
Joy was out.
Joy. Yes. Joy was the other one. We didn't see Joy because I think she trades off with Pooh Bear.
Yeah.
We wound up with both of them.
Yeah.
But, I mean, my daughter's first time to Disney World, and she was like, I expected to see so many characters while I was here. And she goes, I haven't hardly seen any. Where are the characters? And I don't know if it was just our timing or what, but she was disappointed that she didn't get to see so many.
as many as we have before this time.
Yeah. It probably was more the timing, just because I think they kind of rotate around in those little spots that they have them. But at Disneyland, they have like grassy sections that are normally roped off. Like they're just built that way. And that's where they've been having a lot of them rotating. So Pooh Bear and Friends, and then Alice, Cheshire Cat. And then over by, as you're looking at the castle on the left-hand side is called Fantasy Fair.
Right.
And they've built this whole little area where normally you go back into the building and you go meet the princesses.
Right.
And then they have this little tent where they do shows. But right now, right now, that's where they have the characters lined up. So they'll have the princesses, like 3 or 4 of them out. And then you go through this little, the cast member will keep everybody at the door.
Gotcha.
And so then you get your own little private time with each of them. And then you leave, and then the next ones go in and they get their time. But it's this open air little gazebo tented area so they can have a slightly more personal interaction with you, but it's not inside. So you're not like you don't have to worry about the COVID thing because it's open air. And so instead of going into the other building where it's inside, where you would have to wear a mask and do all that stuff. We were just behind a rope from them, and we got to see, who did we see over there? We got, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Rapunzel, Flynn Rider, Belle, Gaston, Evil Queen, Maleficent, and the Stepsisters. And they're awesome. I kind of like the villains more. They're hilarious.
They are funny.
Oh my gosh.
We ran into the Stepsisters and we were just kind of watching them because I hadn't seen them. And we're just kind of watching them and listening to them talk. And they were playing with the crowd a little bit. And they're ornery because they're villains, right?
They are.
It's so funny.
They're the stepsisters.
Yeah,
they're
and
totally in character.
There's one lady right next to me, and she goes, "How rude they are!" And I looked at her, I was like, "They're villains."
Sisters, what do you expect?
Well, have you ever watched Cinderella? I mean, they were rude in there. They're going to be rude.
It was pretty comical.
Yeah.
Oh, they were awesome. Yeah. So we actually, Maleficent was amazing, and then we went to Oogie Boogie Bash in October, and we had seen her and the Evil Queen earlier that day, and we mentioned to them that we were going to the Oogie Boogie Bash the next day, and they're like, "Well, you should come and see me over there." And it was the same ones, and so they kind of remembered my daughter, and it was awesome. They were like, "Oh, you finally made it over to see me." So it was pretty cool because not always are they the same, and it just happened to be the same one. So she actually did remember my daughter. It was awesome.
That's very cool.
Those are cool moments.
Now, are you guys mask free down there, outside and inside, or just
how is it
outside?
How was it at Disneyland?
In Disneyland?
Yeah.
In Disneyland, you do wear one inside, and then any inside queues or rides, but any of the outside rides or they don't make you. So like the carousel, you didn't have to wear one. Big Thunder Mountain, you don't have to wear one. Trying to think, Storybook Canal, the ones that are just
outside.
Outside, yeah. But once you get, and if the queue is outside, they don't make you put one on until you actually enter the building. Right. And so like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and like most of the ride queues are on the outside, and then there'll be a cast member that will stand at the entrance and just kind of they'll kind of remind you. And most of them actually will have like a little box of them in case you don't have one to give out, just in case. So Rise of the Resistance too.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't give them out at Disney World. And I know we were wearing,
Disneyland, they were handing them out still. So that was kind of nice if somebody dropped it or whatever. We got cool mask chains to help with that. So that way we weren't, especially with my littles, I didn't want them losing their mask. And then I'm like frantic, where'd they go? And so we had chains that were clipped onto them. And so my, at the time, 2-year-old, he's almost 3, he'll be 3 in January. And so he knew when we all put ours on, he would attempt to put his own on, and we always had to tell him, but he would try to put it on, and it was nice because they would just hung right here, and we didn't have to worry about finding them again.
Right.
Them.
Yeah. So, I looped that on my arm, and he had one that strapped around his neck, a sport one.
Yeah.
So we could just pull it up and down when we had to.
My dad he came with us in October. My dad wears hearing aids. And so he has to wear one. He can't do the loopies. He has to wear one that goes up and ties around his head. Yeah. So he would just pull down and it would hang because it was already tied up around his head. So then he would just pull it up. So yeah, I think that kind of helps with not having to fiddle with it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah,
okay, so it's pretty much the same.
It's pretty much the same as Disney
World.
It
is. Yeah.
How was it?
And we did the same at the store, but we had to wear masks inside the whole time as well. There was a brief period in the summer when the guests didn't have to wear one. We as cast members still wore one in the store, but there was a brief period of about a month. And I think Disney World had that brief period too, because we went down over 4th of July, and we were there during that like in between period where they had let, like, you didn't have to wear one,
Right.
kind of on the honor system. And then it was like a week or two after we got back, they said you had to wear them inside again. And so we were like, oh, we missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We were like, oh,
I was just glad that
that.
we didn't have to wear it outside this time, because that pretty much sucked. Sorry.
when we went in January, we had to wear them all the time.
Yeah.
And that was a little hard outside.
Yeah.
At
It was
least
hard.
it wasn't hot. It was a little, I mean, it was still a little humid, but it wasn't
Right.
as hot because it was January.
Right.
But the part that sucked for me is my 7-year-old. It was a whole year ago, so she was 6, but she cannot function without sunglasses. So every single outside
fogger.
picture,
Yeah.
that's
You
what
can't
I
see
got.
her.
Sunglasses and a mask. And I was like,
Yeah.
I can't even see your face.
No.
That's what I've been saying through this whole thing. What I missed the most, other than my characters, was seeing everyone's faces, seeing those smiles, and little kids that got to do something for the first time. And then you look over as the kids enjoying it, and you see the sheer magic on the parents' face watching their kid have that moment. And we can people watch like crazy,
Right.
and enjoy our day just hanging out in Disney watching people, because we enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it's hard to see faces masked everywhere. It sucks.
It does. I
really
am grateful
does.
that we don't have to do them outside anymore. That
Yes.
helps a lot.
I am a bit of a rebel when it comes to the mask thing, so I didn't wear it whenever I could, even inside.
He was a rebel. I'm like, you're going to get arrested in Disney. Please
You're gonna
stop.
get us kicked out.
I know,
No.
put your mask
And
on.
but last year when we went, we had a friend that went too, and he took his whole family with him.
Yeah.
And he was there at the same time we were, and he'd text me every once in a while, and he got in trouble by Disney because he kept taking his mask off. He's like, "This is baloney," you know.
Yeah.
I can't.
He's just used to walking around the park with a donut and a coffee, and he was kind of just out enjoying himself and watching people, and
Right.
take it down to start munching and walking, because that's what you're used to. And we couldn't then. You had to stand still and
Yeah,
drink
you
your
couldn't
stuff.
even eat. You couldn't even
No.
eat.
And
You had
that's,
to stand
I
still
think
and
that took the most time.
Yeah.
We were used to doing, like, we would maybe do one sit down meal
Mm-hmm.
a day, like maybe. And that was mostly just to take a break. But we were used to, okay, grab your food. We're going to get in line and eat. And that was like, we can't do that.
Right.
Okay, hurry and eat it while we're standing here and then get in line. That sucked.
It did. It burnt time like
that was
crazy.
hard.
And part some of the things were that caught me funny were there was somebody behind us. We were going into one of the restaurants at the resort, and the lady behind me goes, "Now put your mask on. We're about to go over the COVID threshold." like it didn't
I heard
exist
that
out
so
here, but
many
all of a sudden it
times.
exists over the doorway. You know, I'm like, the COVID threshold.
I
was pretty funny.
definitely heard that a lot.
Yeah, I'm glad they're getting some sense of humor about it.
Yeah,
but-
well, so you can just kind of laugh about it. you know.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
I was thinking about something I want to ask you about Disney. As far as like getting into the park, is there any other kind of COVID restrictions like getting into the park? Do you have to have a COVID test? Are they doing anything like that down there?
Nope, and they're not even doing the health screening, the temperature checks. Nope.
Okay, I
So
was
it's
wondering
just
about
the only kind of screening is the normal security screenings.
that. Okay.
They are in, and this is a big difference because they're in Orange County.
Right.
Mhm.
And they're in Orange County in Florida too, so it gets confusing.
Yeah.
But they're in Orange County, and Orange County doesn't have any mandates or requirements of any kind. And so it's just Disney doing kind of what they want to do.
Right.
Mhm.
Just a little north in LA County, if you follow Universal Studios at all, they are under the LA County mandates. And so they have to wear masks. They have to show that they're vaccinated.
Wow.
I don't
That's
even
nuts.
think you can have a negative test. I think you have to straight up be vaccinated in all of LA County. It's very, very
Wow.
restricted up there.
It's the total
Wow.
opposite in Florida. If you go to Universal in Florida, you don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to do anything. But at Disney, you have to wear a mask.
Yeah,
totally
and it's
optional at Universal.
all and that's all based on their local requirements.
Communities,
Because
yeah.
Universal, obviously, with it being like that in Florida, Universal wouldn't do that if they didn't have to. They just happen to be in LA County.
So they
Yeah.
And so
have to do it.
everything
interesting.
kind of is based on where they're located. So since it's Orange County for Disneyland, it's different. They don't require any of that right now.
Well,
Right
that's good
now.
to know.
Good to
Keep your
hear.
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really?
I would love to do an Oogie Boogie sometimes, but we figured they were doing the COVID thing, and we were like, no, we already went through COVID, and I see no point in a vaccination at this point. So,
yeah, we both had it. And everything,
our
so.
whole family had it. In fact, my whole
We
work
got
went
through it.
down, all of us at one time. Basically, there was a gentleman that came in that had been vaccinated, and he didn't feel well, and we all got it.
Dude.
Do we
it
really
happens,
know? I mean,
but-
do you really know where you got it from?
But yeah,
I don't.
Honestly, I think at this point you're gonna catch it.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Except instead of saying flu season, we'll be all saying, "Oh, it's COVID season." Eventually,
It's just year round.
Yep, yeah.
Just year round.
We'll get used to it after a while, right?
So,
Absolutely.
okay, here's a question. So down at
Yes.
Disneyland, line wise, how was that? Did
it
they
busy?
have standby kind of thing, or what are they?
Yeah, so everything is still standby until tomorrow. Disney Genie starts tomorrow for Disneyland. So everything has just been standby lines, no fast pass, lightning lane, nothing like that. So when we were there I went for the Labor Day weekend, the start of Halloween in September, and it was dead. I was there Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday. So Friday was a little busier, but Thursday was dead, and it was because it was the day before Halloween, but the day before everything started. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so we didn't really see too much once everything started, like maybe an increase of 10-15 minutes in times, but not too bad.
Wow.
And then most of our waits were probably 20 to 40 minutes. And then when we went back in October, we went during Utah's fall break. And yeah, that was busy. I think Space Mountain was about 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So yeah, and Cars Land, Radiator Springs Racers was 75 minutes, and that was us trying to track it with it being the shortest time. I think I got up to 90 minutes. But a lot of people down in Southern California don't realize that week in mid-October is a lot of other states' fall break. It's Arizona's fall break. It's Utah's fall break. And I believe even up in Oregon, they have a fall break up there too. And so, in some parts of it. And
She's
so
like, no.
we
fall break here.
Yeah, it used to be called UEA Weekend, and that stood for Utah's Education Association. And every October, they would take Thursday and Friday off for a Utah Teachers Convention. And we would joke that it was Utah's exodus to Anaheim during that time. And so that was kind of the joke. Well, about 4 or 5 years ago, they got rid of the convention, but most of the districts still kept the fall break, and some of them will shift the week. Some of them aren't the exact same week, but most of them are about the 14th or 15th of October. So if anybody that's local down there goes, they're like, where'd all you people come from? And we're like, it's kind of our time off.
So
This is our
basically, if you
vacation
know what
time.
UEA means, you're a nerd.
Yeah. Well, and what's really funny is you'll walk around and you're like, BYU hat, U of U hat,
Yeah.
BYU hat, Utah hat, Utah Jazz hat. And you're like, we're all here.
Yeah.
We all came
That's
together.
cool.
So I know that there was a lot of complaining, like with the reservation system and the keys, the magic keys back in October, because everybody was like, why is all of a sudden these 2 weeks in October booked out for all of the magic key holders? And they couldn't figure it out. And I finally said to a few of them, I was like, you do realize that's our fall break? And most people, like, there's a lot of key holders or annual pass holders from before COVID that were from Utah and from Arizona. And they kind of go, I had a few friends go, oh, I didn't even realize people outside of California would have keys, magic keys. I'm like, yeah, we all live close enough that, if you have a magic key, it's not that bad. If you have a magic key and you go 3 or 4 times a year, that makes it worth it for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, we live in
I may
Oregon.
not go every day, but I go
We're pass
enough
holders.
that I can get one. Yeah, I get a good enough discount.
Yep.
And so we had at the store, we would have people come in all the time. Oh, do you give an annual pass discount? And I'm like, no, only the Disney Visa one. And I'd ask them, I'd be like, oh, are you from California? And they're like, no, I'm from here. We just go often enough. It's worth it. And so I wasn't surprised. I knew that was going to be the week that half of Utah goes to California for vacation.
Right.
And so it was eye-opening, I think, for a lot of the locals, because they never experienced being blacked out like that before. And we're all going, we have keys too. It's our time to come.
Too.
it's our turn. You guys don't have to come this week. But I told a lot of my Southern California friends that on Instagram, I was like, you probably don't want to come that week. It's busy. And it was packed. It was busy. But I did probably the best time was Oogie Boogie Bash, because it's that limited ticket event.
Yeah.
And so it was awesome. We were running around the park. There was like nobody there. It felt like we had the whole thing to ourselves. So that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
But other than that, it was, and we were there during the week. We specifically went Monday through Friday and didn't go on Saturday. We went home on Saturday because we knew it was going to be even worse.
Right.
And
it gets so, I mean, growing up down there, back in the day, it wasn't as packed as it is now, with everybody having annual passes and stuff. But when Katie and I went there one time around, I don't know, 5 o'clock or something, that park just got packed. And we're like walking around, we're just kidding around going, murr, murr. 'Cause it was like, I mean, we were shoulder to shoulder. We were trying to go over there to Fantasyland, and we got exited
right
out to Main Street. I'm like, I don't want to go this way.
You almost get accidentally shuffled.
Yeah,
we did.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, no, and I actually back pre-COVID, it was back when Guardians of the Galaxy ride opened, with the changeover from Tower of Terror.
Right.
And I was talking to a local down there back then, and he was an annual pass holder, and he said that they came every day at 3 o'clock because their kids got out of school, and they would come at 3 o'clock every day. And so that's why the park all of a sudden at 5 o'clock every night would get slammed, because all the locals would get off work and out of school and they'd come. Wow. And so I mean, I do think
you were lucky if you went once a year. And when I was growing up, we were lucky if we got to go once a year. And we probably lived 40 minutes from there, but we were lucky if we got to go once a year back then. Yeah. So it wasn't, but they didn't have the annual pass thing like, they do now. So it was a whole different
game,
ball of wax.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So what's your favorite thing? What's your favorite thing down there at Disneyland that you like to do, or what's your favorite ride?
So Disneyland, I love Small World. Small World is my hands down favorite, and I love Disneyland Small World. Sorry, Disney World, but
Disneyland Small World is better. Yes,
it's so much better. And I was there when Christmas opening in November as well, and I was heartbroken. Like I wanted to cry. I was so sad when I found out it had flooded and it wasn't going to be opening. And it was probably like, my trip was amazing. I had a great time, but that was the biggest disappointment of my trip, is I didn't get to see it at Holiday. And I haven't yet. That's one thing. I don't go down at Disney at Christmas time very often. Right. And so I was really looking forward to finally seeing Disneyland at Holiday, and I didn't get to see it.
Bummer.
And I was so bummed. But it opened yesterday, so that was awesome. Nice. That they got it back up and running, because there was a few cast members I talked to while we were down there, and they're like, "It's not opening for the season." I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "It's bad. Like, you don't realize how bad it was." And when they said that they were working 24/7 to get that thing up and running, it was like they had to do some major repairs. Oh, wow. The flooding happened in such a slow manner. They didn't realize that it had flooded for hours afterwards, and so it destroyed a lot of that vintage stuff that they've got in there. And
oh man,
it was bad.
I mean, they weren't trying to turn it into the Disney World version where it's water everywhere.
Yeah.
Is that,
Yeah. that's probably what that's not what they needed to do, but then so I'm really happy that they actually got to have some of it, at least some of the season, because that was the conversations we were having at back at the opening of Christmas, that it wasn't going to happen. So that was a big Disney magic miracle right there. So Disney Small World is my favorite thing to do. It brings me a lot of joy, and I it's kind of a weird, almost spiritual experience for me at the end when everybody's in the room and all in white, and it's almost like a little heavenly experience for me. I love it. That makes me so happy to see everybody like that. It brings a lot of joy to my heart. But some of my favorite rides, like as far as like thrilly kind of rides, I love Indiana Jones. Rise of the Resistance is amazing. I'm blown away every time I get to ride that, and it's so incredible, the technology that they've got for that ride. I love that. Pirates of the Caribbean is a must every time. Pirates is awesome. Haunted Mansion, I love Haunted Mansion, but Haunted Mansion normal, Disney World wins. I love Disney World's normal
regular mansion,
but holiday overlay is phenomenal. Holiday overlay with the Nightmare Before Christmas guys, I love that. That's so much fun, and it makes it less creepy, which creepy's fun. It's cool to be scared sometimes, but my kids get it more because they've seen Nightmare Before Christmas, and so they like Jack and they like the Zero, and they like that stuff more. So that's in Disneyland. And then over in California Adventures, I adore Cars Land. Cars Land is really cool. So cool.
So immersive.
Walking down Route 66, seeing the lights, seeing the neon turn on. Now that's
pretty cool looking.
That's so neat. I mean, down to the details that the light, if you remember in the movie when Fillmore says, every third blink is slower. And he's like, the 60s weren't good to you, were they, man? They actually have. If you look at the light, it blinks. Every third one is slower. And it's just those kind of really cool. It is so cool. So you sit there and watch it and you're like, dude, it's doing it. And you kind of feel like you're having a moment with the movie. You're like, I'm in it. I'm here.
It is pretty cool that they take all that stuff
see, and that's it's like it was one of those first real immersive lands. Like everything else had just been rides, but that was one of those first ones where you really felt like, oh my goodness, I am really in the movie. I mean, Bugs Life kind of did it a little bit, the Bugs Land.
A little bit,
a little bit, but not even to the degree that Cars Land is.
No,
Cars Land
they did a really good job with Cars Land.
They really did.
I love Cars Land. I love that.
We went down when that was like still fresh, Cars Land. We were staying in that hotel right behind it.
Yeah, across the street from Disney, from California Adventure.
Beautiful window view of the park, and you look down and you see the backside, which is just flat,
of
like billboard. And I was like, "Oh, that's just wrong." That just disillusions my mind completely.
It's like being on Summit Plummet at the water park at Disney World, and you're up on Summit Plummet, and you look over and you see the backside of Expedition Everest as a building. It's like,
and you're like, oh, that doesn't work. That was one thing that kind of was funny about the lines during the really lockdown parts of the COVID, because now they don't really spread the lines out as much.
Right.
But back in January, and even a little bit in June and July when we were there,
the
Disney World
lines,
the lines, you had to stand so far apart, so the line was stretched out, and there was a lot of them where you would go backstage to get the line. The queue would wrap you a little bit backstage, and there was some parts where you're looking, you're in the back, you're going, well, that's what that looks like from behind. Because you're behind, you're backstage, and it's just kind of funny to like, those are parts you don't normally see, and because of the necessity of everybody spread out, you got to see these different things, and so sometimes that's kind of fun to to be back there because you're looking around. It was really cool in Batu over in Galaxy's Edge, because you go back there and they've got all the spires to create the depth look of all the spires. They actually have, like, backstage there'll be this random pillar that isn't really attached to anything, but it's sticking up so that from the inside of the park you can see depth. And so that was really funny to be backstage and you're like, oh, that's just kind of sticking out there, isn't it?
With the rock on top of it,
And you're looking around and you're like, huh. I mean, it breaks the fourth wall a little bit. Yeah, like that. And there's moments where that's kind of fun, like in a movie when they break the fourth wall, and you're like, "You just talked to me." It kind of does that a little bit. So there's moments where it's kind of fun to see that. And then like there's other times where it totally destroys the magic. So you have to be careful with what you're revealing.
I think that stuff's cool. I took the Keys to the Kingdom tour at Disney World. And it was really cool. Katie didn't get to go do it, but I did it with a couple other friends. And they were off in the park, with daughter and her.
I had a daughter that was too young.
And an exchange student. And so they were off in the park, but we got to go. So we got to go to see Splash Mountain. And they showed us the big reservoir that they drain that thing into every night to clean the water and stuff. So it was pretty cool to see that. So, even the warehouse where they store the parades and stuff like that. It was cool to see that stuff. So if you're a real nerdy nerd, you get to see that stuff. It's pretty fun.
My oldest, when she was 11, she got to do a Disney youth program down at Disneyland, and they used to have the youth program building backstage. And so you would go into Toontown and there's a wall by Minnie's house, and you would go back behind that wall. And the minute you walk back there, it was like, no cell phones, do not take any pictures. Everything was locked down because you're backstage. You cannot take any pictures. And so you go back there, and that's where they did this dance class with them, and they taught him a parade routine, and she had a great time. But as we were back there, they were kind of getting ready for a parade. And this was 3 or 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And so we got to see them kind of like lining up and getting ready to go over by Small World where they come out, but they were all kind of wandering around, getting ready to go. And that was kind of cool because she was like, we're backstage, Mom. I'm like, no, we're backstage.
It is pretty cool to see that stuff, see what goes into it. Did they have the Mickey Runaway Railway going down there at Disneyland?
So not yet. So they are currently still building that right now. And it's this big giant building. And there used to be this joking sign up on the building that said, building? What big building? I don't see a big building. And it was just kind of this tongue in cheek, like, yeah, we know that's there. And so that one, I don't believe they've got a date yet for it. If they do, it's going to be probably 2023. They still are. They barely started putting up the steel beams during the COVID shutdown, because what they did is they had to take out all this backstage stuff, which specifically was the youth program buildings that they had backstage right behind Toontown. And so they took all the youth program buildings and they put them in the ESPN building, the ESPN zone building in downtown Disney. They pulled the ESPN zone out and put the youth programs in there. So now if you go do a youth program, you actually don't go backstage. You're just in downtown Disney, which I think is kind of a little unfortunate because that's kind of part of the fun of it. But that's what they did is they took out all these buildings to build the Runaway Railroad. And I remember somebody was doing some aerial photography during COVID, and they actually caught like some shots of Disneyland backstage, and you could see that they were putting up the steel beam. So it hasn't been under construction maybe a year. And so it's got a long ways to go.
There's a lot more construction on your side.
That'll be fun for that area, I think.
I am so excited. I think it will finally give it a good update. And that was the other they gave a good update about that a few weeks ago. They said that Disneyland's Toontown was going to be getting a good facelift, which it needs. It hasn't really had a facelift since it was built.
We had talked about I guess they were going to update Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin a little bit and put a little twist in there. So
they've been doing a couple of character shifting in there. And I haven't actually seen it since they put the new one in. But it's kind of one of those rides. I don't know. They got to keep it current. And that's the problem with Disneyland is you have to, I mean, and Walt said this, as long as there's imagination left in the world, Disneyland will never be complete. So it's not something that is foreign for Disney to do updates and keep things fresh.
Right.
But you have to think about the generation of the kids that are going.
Right.
And there's some of us older generations that are like, but we love that. But if you don't keep it fresh, the kids have no idea what's going on in the show or in the ride. And so they kind of get, oh, I don't want to go on that ride. I have no idea who it is. And we actually had 2 experiences, like Splash Mountain. I love Splash Mountain. We love Splash Mountain, but they have no idea what it even is. And I'm going, well, I've seen Song of the South.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the last of that age group to have seen it because you can't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
And so they don't even get why it's a big deal. Like they don't get it.
Well,
the little kids, they don't see that.
They don't get it. But I have to tell you, I don't remember all of Song of the South. I saw it when I was so young. I remember the song, which stuck in my head forever.
Which is a great song.
And to this day, Splash Mountain is still my ride. When I ride that, I get the little fluttery thing all the way through that. I'm in absolute heaven all the way through that ride.
Yep.
It's my ride. And I hate that they're changing it. I'm kicking and screaming hate that they're changing it.
We did an episode
I didn't feel you on that.
We did an episode of that when I heard they were going to change it. I'm like, all right, upstairs we're doing an episode because I couldn't stand it. I was like, no, not that. We're of the mind that they ought to leave it. I mean, they're going to leave it like in the foreign parks. They're going to have a version of it.
Yeah.
But why not leave? Because New Orleans is Tiana's playground,
right?
So
So we want them to do it in Disneyland.
Princess and the Frog there, but leave it Splash Mountain at Disney World. So
yes.
Something different to go to,
I agree 100%. And it's, in my opinion, Splash Mountain it's in Frontierland over there. It doesn't, why Tiana?
Well, there was Critter Country there, but that's not even there anymore, is it?
Well, but the thing is with Tiana, like you were saying, she fits with the New Orleans Square.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's right there. That's her zone. That's her.
Yeah, it fits right in there.
Yep.
I agree. I really do think they should keep it the same for Disney World and Disneyland. Yes. And they do that. They have different versions of the same rides.
Yeah. Look at Tower.
So that you have a different experience. So it's not the exact same every time you go.
Yeah. When they changed Tower of Terror, we were like, oh, bummer. But
I like both of them.
But it's Guardians of the Galaxy in California. And then it's Tower of Terror in Florida, which is great.
And the Florida one's better anyway.
I know. Yeah. I love that ride so much. But I was really hating when we first went down. All right, let's get on Guardians. They killed my Tower of Terror.
But it's a great ride.
But it's a great ride. I still get the thrill. And it made it more acceptable to me because they left one alone.
Right.
I can still go to one.
Exactly.
And visit a new experience. They don't have to make them all cookie cutter. I like them.
Exactly. And that's why I really wish they would have. I know there's part of me that's like, could somebody please just tell them not to do Disney World?
There's a lot of people. Yeah.
I know. But somebody that actually has some pull, because most of us have no pull.
Yeah.
We're just like, please
don't do it. Yeah. Well, the good news is they have so much going on over there in construction, still trying to finish in Epcot, that they're distracted. So it'll probably be a little while before
it's going to be a long time. They've got so much they've got to finish. They've got other plans that they've already talked about. And it's like, I don't know when that's ever going to happen. Like it could be.
Hopefully it'll fall off the table.
Yeah, they'll forget about it.
Right?
We're going to do what?
There's a better idea. We just need a better idea.
Well, and that has happened before, where they'll make these announcements and they'll make plans.
Yeah,
it's happened all the way through all of Disneyland's history that they make these announcements and plans. I mean, Haunted Mansion alone.
Look what they did with Downtown Disney. They were going to build that hotel. They shut all those things down, and then they ended up not doing it. But now they're going to do some other kind of expansion.
Exactly. So you never know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Budget cuts. Different employees come in. I mean, that's exactly what happened with Haunted Mansion. Is they had to pull people away to go build a Small World, and it took
Right.
way longer than they were expecting to.
Yeah, it
to
took
get it.
years.
Yeah.
They got Haunted Mansion open.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
You know, that's I think one of my favorite things that ever came from Disney Plus is all the behind the scenes
Yeah, did you
shows.
watch,
and
Oh, I
shots.
love
did you watch
those.
the behind the attraction one of the
Oh, all
Small
of them.
World?
All of them. Aren't they
I
great?
love
They
that.
can't make them fast enough for
I
me.
know.
I
Like,
want
Like, do
more.
it again. Do another one.
Yes.
Where's the next season
I love
already?
that one. I love the prop culture one.
Yeah,
That one
that's
was pretty
that
cool. All the Imagineering ones that we
Those
got
are
to
good.
hear from all those guys. I love
Mhm.
that. That was
awesome. Yeah, I love that.
Have you
stuff.
done the Animal Kingdom one yet?
no, I haven't watched that one yet.
Love it because they
Is
get
it
behind
cool?
the scenes
She's
with
an
the
animal
animals. I'm an
person.
animal freak anyway. But
That's
yes, they
cool.
get behind the scenes with them, which is kind of really cool to see what happens to make that magic for you.
Yeah.
And
That is cool.
I love that part. Anyway,
I have to watch that
I'll
one
have
too.
to check that one out. That's really neat.
Yeah, those are
We
fun.
love that.
They're really fun.
I love
yeah,
behind the
yeah.
scenes stuff. Anytime I can get that, I love that.
Yeah.
Just kind of, like I said, it kind of breaks that fourth wall and makes it a little more like I'm in it.
It is.
Right.
It is. Now, have you read the Kingdom Keepers
But
No,
series? Gotta
I have
get 'em.
not.
You're a
Kingdom
Disney nerd?
Keepers.
Kingdom Keepers.
Okay, I'll
Get
have
in
to check
there
that
and
out.
read those. They blew my mind. It's a kid's book that I started, and it's not really like a little kid's book because they're chapters. There's a good sized book.
So like young adult kind of level.
Yeah, kind of young adult.
But if
and
you're a Disney
Disney nerd,
nerd,
you will love
it.
it.
She loves
And
it.
is it a fiction or is
Yeah.
it?
It is
Yeah, it's
fictional, but it has a lot of history and a lot of
That's cool.
truth in it and details of
Okay.
Disney in it. So, I mean, it wraps around some kids that are both human and get zapped into almost
They're like a hologram.
an AI hologram
Right.
in the park that greets people and stuff like that. But after hours, they jump into the hologram and can run all over the park all by themselves. And the characters are alive
Yeah.
after hours.
That's cool.
and
All
all
your-
kinds of
all your
crazy
Small
stuff.
World
And there's
dolls.
good versus evil, and Maleficent's alive. And there's all these things and dolls
Oh
come
my
alive
gosh, my
on
kids
rides.
would love
and
that.
they are so great, Reed. I'm on my second time around. And
How
there's
many are there?
There's like seven or eight books. And they're
That's
wonderful.
cool.
Once you get in, you
Kingdom-
can't stop. Kingdom.
And they're called
Keepers.
Kingdom Keepers.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna have to check that out. My kids would love that.
Yeah, they're such a good read. And every time I get on the rides now, I go on Splash Mountain and I think of it differently because I remember the book and the things attacking them. And then I go on to It's a Small World. And in the book, the dolls come alive.
Yeah, and they're not nice. They're kind of evil.
They attack the boat.
Oh, that's terrifying.
They're
It
kinda
is
evil.
terrifying. But in everything that they experience, they have to learn something. And for them, in that particular moment, was facing their fears. So if they turned, smiled, and looked at the dolls and didn't run from them, the dolls would freeze. So it was all about facing your fears for them. And there's always some task they had to learn in the moment that they're having this attack. That it's
Oh my gosh.
But you've
That
got to
is-
read them. They're really cool.
That's cool. I'll have to
Your
definitely
kids-
look
your
those
kids
up.
probably
Kingdom
like it.
Keepers. Okay.
Yeah. Disney
Oh,
needs to
okay.
run some movies on those things.
Yeah, they
They
could.
would be cool.
They
Who-
could do that. They could make some movies out of those.
It'd be
books,
really good.
I think.
Oh yeah. Did you ever play the I think it came out in 2015. It was the Disneyland game where you could go, you ran around. I think it was on Xbox.
I never
we
did that.
we played that a ton during the real lockdown part of the COVID lockdown
Okay.
because we had nothing else to do. My kids were super bored, and it's basically you are a kid that Mickey and Minnie, all the characters are alive, and they send you on quests and little adventures, and you have to go around and you can collect coins, and you can go buy our autograph books, and you can go buy clothes and costume changes, and then they send you on little quests, and so you're running around Disneyland collecting, like you're trying to find Peter Pan's shadow, and so you go and try and find all of his shadows that are around, and you're trying to find the fairy godmother's wand, and you're just running around Disneyland collecting all these things. And so even my little one could play because she was just running around zapping things as she was going around, and you could magic wand things and they would come alive, and it's a pretty fun little game. But it's pretty old, so it's got a lot of, like, it definitely could use an update because it doesn't even have
new characters.
What part? Yeah, it doesn't have new characters, and there's parts of the park that you're like, that doesn't exist anymore. That's a little old. So that was kind of fun for them, but it's like that where they're like in the park and they're doing things and they're interacting with the characters on a more real level instead of them just being there.
Anime, yeah.
Yeah. So that was fun for them to do during the real shutdown part where we were all locked in the house and doing school and trying to deal with that. So that's a fun one.
We never got locked in our house, but our daughter couldn't go to school.
I kept working through the whole thing.
We were part of the working crew the whole time. So
Gotcha. My husband started working from home at that time, and he still hasn't gone back to the office. He still works from home. So we just...
In some ways, it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
it is kind of neat in some ways.
Yeah.
So
neither of us were in that position.
I actually started homeschooling during that, and so we've kept up with that this year now. So we started homeschooling last year, and we're doing that this year too. So it's kind of been an interesting shift. I don't think I would have done it without COVID, but I'm actually kind of glad it happened because I've gotten to start this new adventure with my kids.
Absolutely. We have a 14-year-old too.
Yeah,
our little girl.
She's the caboose of everybody. So
nice.
And she's in high school. She was excited to get into high school after COVID pretty much wiped out middle school.
Right.
So into high school, she was so excited, and it's been interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
There are many moments I was like, forget it. Let's take her home again. This is not worth it. All the regulations.
I don't know if I could. I don't think I could do homeschooling. It takes. You got to be able to do it. It's because it's important and everything. So you got to be able to have the skills and abilities to do that. Some people got it, some people don't. So
that's for sure.
So
I'm grateful she's and my 14-year-old's pretty independent. She's in 8th grade, so she's pretty self-motivated, independent kid. So she's awesome. It's kind of nice. You're like, this is what you're supposed to do, and then she goes and does it. So it's kind of nice that way.
So are they as interested in Disney as you are?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you can see, this is our basement wall behind me.
Okay.
If you can see that, it's all the lithographs from when you got to pre-order a movie. We've got them all up on the wall
behind you.
Cool. No, they're definitely Disney nerds. And I mean, so I have two unintentional Disney princesses, and then my little guy is a subtle Jedi. So I have Sophia. So my oldest is Sophia. And she was 4 when Sophia the First came out.
Okay.
And so she wasn't meant to be a Disney princess, but she latched right on to Sophia the First. We love Sophia the First growing up. So it was her show. Yeah. And in fact, because Sophia the First is Sofia, and my daughter is PH.
Right.
And so she wanted me to write. She wanted me to write to Mickey Mouse and tell him that he spelled Sophia's name wrong because it's not an F, it's a PH. So we have that princess, and then my middle one, she's 7. Her name's Isabella, but we call her Bella, and it's with Belle, my favorite princess. But then, unintentionally, the Belle part is intentional, but the unintentional part is the spin-off show of Sophia the First is Elena of Avalor. Right. And Elena of Avalor's little sister is Isabella.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was like, well, I didn't mean for you to be that one. So that just happened. She was about 6 months old. She was about 6 months old when that show came out. And I was like, again? Okay. Here we go. But my little guy, his name is intentional. So if you're into Star Wars at all, you'll get the reference. But his name is Liam. And our last name is Nelson. So he's Liam Nelson. And if you get it, Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
So he's our subtle Jedi. It's not Qui-Gon Jinn or Obi-Wan Kenobi. But if you get it, you get it. Right. So he's our Jedi. My husband and I are big into Star Wars too. So once we found out we were having a boy, I was like, so what do you think of Liam? And that got taken real quick. He was like, yes, and done.
Done and done.
Okay, so the question is, which Star Wars movie is your favorite?
Empire Strikes Back.
Good answer.
Yeah, Empire Strikes Back for
the first
sure.
three.
Yeah, I grew up watching the originals for sure, but my teenage heart belongs to the prequels because I was in 8th grade when Episode 1 came out. And I fell very deeply in love with Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Ewan McGregor is I think I would probably faint and die if I was ever in the same room with that man.
Well, they are
Ewan
coming out with
McGregor
that
is-
series, aren't they, on Disney Plus? An Obi-Wan
Yes.
Kenobi series?
I'm so excited for Kenobi. Yes, and they're
Danielle's
bringing
gonna
back
be
Hayden Christensen. I know. I was like, yes, you could do that. You could do all of that. I would be super happy. No, Ewan McGregor is, and it's really funny because like I did a reel about a month ago or so. They were doing this. It's this audio where you're supposed to show your childhood crush and then who you actually married. And so I did it, and I showed Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi in the first two episodes, and then I showed a picture of my husband in 2009 when he was dressed up as a Jedi. And I'm like, yes, I did marry a Jedi. I did find my Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hey, remember when we got those pictures? What was I? We got those pictures on Rock and Roller Coaster when you get off. They have the Star Wars pictures you can get. And
yes,
I can't remember which one. I can't remember which character was I. Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I look more like it's one of the guys, the Siths. I look like I was tired, and I'm like, look more.
You were
evil
tired.
Need some red. Just get some red glowing eyes.
Yeah. So when you guys did Rise of the Resistance down there, did you guys break down a lot? Was the ride frozen a lot?
So I've only actually had it break down on me once, and that was this last time in November. And we sat in the queue for 45 minutes, and we were like, we have other things we need to do because I was down there with an Instagram group of women from Utah, and we were with getawaytoday.com. And so it was like, we don't have time to sit here and wait for this ride to come back up. And at that point, I had actually ridden it. I've ridden it like 12 times between all of my trips. And so I was one of the first ones that was like, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
I'm good. I don't need to sit here and wait for this ride to come back on. And then the rest of the group was like, yeah, let's leave. So that was the first time I'd ever actually seen it break down. I've never had it break down while I was on it. I just was in the queue. We were in the part, if you remember, in the queue where the
stormtroopers are?
No, not the stormtroopers.
The guards that are lining you up.
It's the cargo bay kind of area where like all their jumpsuits and their helmets are.
Right.
And so there's actually like there's certain parts where there's little bits of seating, like there's carved out parts. So we were thankfully sitting there. I wasn't sitting on the floor, otherwise I would have left a lot earlier because I was actually sitting on the little benchy part. But for Rise, I've been lucky enough to get it pretty much every time I've gone. The only time I didn't get it was in January, this last January trip. We went, we only had one day at Hollywood Studios and we didn't get it. And I didn't get it at noon either. And that was the one thing my husband was looking forward to riding, and we didn't get to ride it. And he was super bummed. And I had already ridden it multiple times on other trips and from before COVID, and then he didn't get to ride it. And then I went again this summer, and I went again like multiple times I'd gone, and he's like, I still haven't ridden it yet. So that's my example of when Disney Genie and buying the Lightning Lane would be worth it.
Right.
Like, you got the standby line, go stand in the standby line. But if you are on that once in a lifetime kind of trip, that's when it's going to be worth it to ride it. Buy it and go and make sure you get that one ride that you really want to ride done. And so to me, there's going to be moments where it's not worth it. And there's definitely going to be moments where it's worth it. And it's that kind of stuff where my husband was literally put out the rest of our trip. And I was like, I know you didn't get to ride it, but can you please try and have fun?
Yeah.
We're here. Can you try and have fun the rest of the time? But when he finally did get to ride it, he was mind blown. He was so, he got to ride it this last October.
So when we went in December, it was still on the ride queue, and we've gotten one every time.
Right.
Yeah, the virtual queue.
Virtual queue. So we've won one every time. But when we went the first time, it broke down like 3 times while we were on it.
In a row.
Oh,
every time we got the virtual queue, we went to
a certain point, and they'd kick us back out.
It break down the same spot. We were in the same spot before they interrogate you.
Stormtroopers.
It break down, so we get let out 3 times in a row.
So we were like, pretty soon you get inventive. And I said, you know what they need right here? And to keep this fun, instead of having everyone go, oh man, they need to have somebody come and rescue you right at that moment. You know, in character, come in. Come on, man, we're busting you out of here. And Chewie, come in and walk you out. And you get this little character experience as you're ushered off the ride instead of just out. You know?
Instead of, okay, bro,
come back in an hour.
Because that whole thing is just one giant experience.
It is.
Yeah,
like
it is
you don't realize you're on the ride even when you're in the queue. Like you're still like part of the experience. And I think that's one thing that's so cool about it is you're in there. When we went this summer and my 14-year-old got to ride it, we got through the part with the stormtroopers standing there. You get off the little thing and you're like, we're captured. Oh my gosh. We get into that other part where it kind of starts another queue.
Right.
But you're still like in the ride, so you don't feel like you're in the queue. She looked at me and I swear she thought she was like, Mom. And I was like, I know, it's so cool. But she was just like, I couldn't tell if she was going to like cry. Like we're such big Star Wars nerds and Disney nerds that like we've raised our kids that way. That she knew how incredible this was. And so she's looking at me and I took a selfie and she's just like, oh my gosh, it's happening. I'm here. And then we weren't even in the actual ride part yet. And she was already losing it. Those are the cool moments when you just watching other people experience things for the first time because you've done it, but then you get to see their reactions, and that's kind of fun.
I love taking someone new and getting to do that. Those are some of my favorite trips. And my moment, there's a couple of character experiences that have just been over the top where you can't believe it's happening, and you're just so thrilled about it and watching their faces. And my daughter meeting Sully was huge, and he's the best hugs in the business, and he just held her as she just cried in his arms because she'd been looking for him for years. And that was a magic moment, and great cast members that just hung with her and made that moment really special for her. And another one, my son getting to meet Chewie, and my son can do a Chewie imitation really, really well. And
that's awesome.
He walked in the room and did a Chewie, and Chewie just started back at him. And they were over there having this conversation back and forth. And I was just videotaping, and it was the cutest thing ever between them.
I love that.
Grown boy. He's a grown man here. And they were just in there wah, 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 back and forth. And it was adorable.
I love that so much.
Those cherished moments.
That is so cool. And before COVID, when Chewie was walking around and they were like part of that, I think that's part of why I like the characters being where they are right now, where they're kind of in the land, even though they're distant, even though they're behind like a little bit of a barrier, they're still like out and about. Because when Chewie, that was kind of a unique thing over in Batuu. It was like Chewie's walking around without, you don't have to stand in line to take a picture with him. He's actually like interacting and like wandering around like he's part of the game. It's a game, like, right? You're part of the game and you're a part of it. You're in there and you're kind of, you can see them doing their thing. And that was pretty neat to see that level of immersion. So that I hope does come back someday. Cause I mean, seeing them working on the speeder and working on the Falcon. That's okay, but I liked the part when they were wandering and they were in the city with you. That was neat.
Right.
Those
I
were
like the
neat
stormtroopers
moments.
coming through and just grabbing people and hauling them
Yes!
off. And that was great.
Those were like, you're walking around, you're like, they're gonna get me.
Yeah.
I love those.
I was always like, okay, if they come up, you say, I am not the droid you're looking for.
Yep. We got to do, my husband did, in 2019, he did the, because this was before Rise of the Resistance opened, he got to do the Savi's workshop.
Okay.
So he built his own lightsaber. And at one point, this was when the stormtroopers would walk around, they were getting ready to take him back. And the stormtroopers actually walked through that area to go up the stairs right there. And the entire mood of everybody, all the cast members, the citizens of Batuu, it was like everybody went into secret mode. And you could sense like everybody was like, they almost stopped talking. And it was like this, everything just shifted. And then once they left the area, they were like, oh, sorry about that. Let's finish, but they were so in character that they knew that when the stormtroopers walked by, they had to stop talking about the lightsabers and they had to stop talking about the transaction because they could get caught.
Yeah.
And it was just part of the lore that was in Batuu. And that was one thing that was kind of cool because everybody was like, as you walk by, you could just feel this energy shift in just even in the characters. Like they were doing their job, but they shifted. It was so cool.
Now, have you ever played the game with the MDE where you have an interactive experience you can get in Star Wars Land? Have you done that yet?
On your phone?
You get on your phone, it'll tell you to go, you join different forces and go through them. I've not done it yet.
Is that the thing Tony
yeah, Tony did that.
We did it. We did it in 2019 at Disney World. And I don't know if it just hadn't been like
developed enough,
updated or not, but I had, it drained my battery really fast because we were on our phone so much. And so we did have, little portable chargers and stuff, but that was one thing I was like, holy cow, this is like draining. And then if I ever left that part of the app and went back in, it restarted it. So we did have a little bit of problem, like trying to play it, but I've heard that it's gotten like they fixed some of those bugs, but we haven't played it since then. We'll
have to try it at some point. My boss went and came back and he goes, that was the coolest thing. He loved it.
Yeah.
I was like,
the parts that we got through and the amount that we did get through with it was really neat. And we loved playing the game in the Smuggler's Run and scanning everything. My kids loved that because it helped the line go
it did.
faster.
We were playing games all along and it does help.
Yeah.
We did the Genie Plus. I was not a fan. We did it 2 days and I didn't find it helpful. And it could be just the time of year that we went that if you were lucky, you got 2 rides.
I didn't find it very beneficial. Really,
did you
other
ever
than what you said.
Yeah. Did you ever do Max Pass down at Disneyland?
Yes.
Yeah. And I love Max Pass.
Okay. So how does it compare with Max Pass?
Well,
because I've seen a lot of things written out about like the differences, but how did you like
Max Pass
it?
Worked very well.
Seemed better. And you could like dial in your first, several things you wanted to do. You still had options to choose between different things. One, A, B, C ride or whatever, but you could choose a couple of things ahead. And then once those 3 were gone, then you could choose something else. With the Disney Plus, Genie Plus, you choose one. And then when that one is gone, you get to choose something else. But I'm dialing in at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And the first ride chance for something you want is 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And you're like, okay, by the time that one's over, you look in, there's nothing.
There's nothing. It's gone.
You paid an extra, for us, it was $60 a day for Genie Plus. For what? I could have rode that ride anyway. It wasn't even the top ride.
Plus the ones that you can buy for the Lightning Lane some of those aren't even in your choices
They aren't in your choices.
on the Genie
Right.
Plus.
You
have
get
to pay for them.
standby.
They're
Yeah.
either standby or you have to pay for them. So it takes
And
those
it's
out of the
separate.
selection.
It's-
yeah.
Yeah,
Which I
it's
don't
separate
like.
from Disney Plus.
Yep. We just didn't find it useful. We did it in
Yeah.
Magic Kingdom one day, and we did it in, I think, Hollywood, I think, another day.
Okay.
And neither day did it pan out for us. And then the rest of the time, I just said, you know what? Let's just, if we're going to wait, we'll hit the ones we
Yeah.
want to wait on. And
But like
really
you
wasn't
said earlier, if it's it's your trip,
yeah,
you want to hit Ratatouille and you're not going to be able, you haven't hit it yet, and you don't know if you're going to be back for 2 years or something,
Right.
and you might want to pay for it.
I would have
It's
just paid to
awesome,
do it.
right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of a bummer, right? The Max Pass, we loved it when we
Yeah.
went.
I did Max Pass every time.
Every
I loved
time.
Max Pass.
Yep. I was hoping it would
it
be
was
more like
awesome.
that, but I think it needs
That's
to go
unfortunate.
back to where you could have a few selections, even if it's only one of them's a high ride and you got other things,
Yeah.
because there's no selection left.
I don't think it did what they wanted it to
So.
do. I think the biggest
Yeah.
thing was people were complaining that all the fast passes were gone, and early on, like at Disney World, I mean, a lot of the if people the locals would go to the park, if you're like, we're DVC, so we were able to book our fast passes way in advance.
Right.
And so they were complaining that all the fast passes were being taken up. And I think by doing this, they were hoping that was gonna alleviate some of that, and I don't think it did. I think it made it worse, in my opinion.
Yeah,
No.
that was one thing about Disney World that surprised me in 2018 when we went. I was like, I have to plan what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
I hate
fast
planning.
passes? What?
Yeah.
That was crazy to me because I was so used to just Max Pass or running around the
Right.
park getting them. I was like, how many days? 60 days in advance? It was
We were
crazy.
thinking they should just shorten that up for people, like, that plan way ahead. Just don't give them that option of planning 60 days ahead and booking that
Yeah.
stuff, because it kind of took away from the other people. So I don't think they accomplished what they wanted to with it, but maybe they'll work out the bugs. I don't know.
I think
I
they'll
don't
be.
know.
I do hope they tweak it enough that it
Yeah.
makes it work, and that's with anything that they release, you do always have to see the
value of
adjustments.
it.
That
Yeah.
So
Well, and
they're
then
bringing
the
that to
adjustments they
Disneyland
will
too.
make.
Then that same system they're going to have at Disneyland, I guess.
starting tomorrow,
Yeah.
Disneyland starts
'Cause
tomorrow.
the Max Pass works so well. I
I-
thought.
I was hoping
Yeah.
it would work more like when you're in the queue for
Mhm.
Star Wars, where you could kind of just get a time and get a return time and come back. And everyone had equal opportunities to kind of punch in, dial in, and I want to
Yeah.
go to this ride. Here's a return time. They would just kind of give you a time.
Yep. Yep.
But it doesn't work that way.
It didn't work that way.
No,
Mhm.
not at all. And I was excited to try it, but I really was disappointed
Yeah.
with that.
See,
They
and the
need
part-
to rework it.
The part that I think is interesting is when people would make itineraries of
Mhm.
like exactly what they were going to do, and I think that's part of the the regular genie part, right? Is the
Mhm.
itinerary. It'll map it out. And maybe I just go so often that I don't really care. Like I've had friends that are like, oh, I've mapped out our whole day. We're going to do this, and this, and I kind of am like,
Yeah, too much.
yeah, like that
Yeah,
just
it's too
that's just
structured.
I don't even like that.
Yeah.
I like to go, and then we look at the wait times.
Yep.
Okay, let's do it. Oh, we're in
Yeah.
this area. Let's do it. I never have had a set
Structured time.
schedule
Mhm.
of my day. I've never
Yeah.
done that. And so that was weird with Disney World, where you kind of had to plan out your whole day, where it was like, we have this fast pass, we have this fast pass, we have this reservation, we have this fast pass,
Mhm.
Right.
and you had to book out your whole day. And I missed the spontaneity
Mhm.
of just running around the park. Just go run
Yeah.
around, just go have fun, just go see what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I will actually use the itinerary portion of Genie
Yeah.
at all, because that's not how I park. That's not how I
didn't-
go.
Right.
I didn't find it accurate. You could put in what you like, what you want to see, and what your goal is on the trip in there. What princesses do you want? Character experiences. You
Okay.
dial in what your personal preferences are, and it's supposed to form your itinerary to give you
Yeah.
suggestions to get to the rides. And hey, this restaurant's open that you wanted to eat at. Go there. Or hey, this ride's low on wait time. I didn't find it did that at any point. The itinerary wasn't even close to anything I wanted.
But they might work the bugs out.
But I
of
was
that.
like,
I don't know.
that was
Well,
totally pointless. So
I saw one guy that was he purposely did a day where he was like, I'm going to let Disney Genie dictate my day. He wanted to test out, like, I'm going to let the genie tell me exactly where to go. And he was running back and forth all over Disney World. And he was like, I have done more running than I normally do. Because normally you stay in an area.
Yeah.
Right.
And what the genie was looking at is it was like, oh, this ride has a low wait time. Go there. And he's going, I'm in Tomorrowland. I'm not going to Adventureland. But he was doing an experiment. So he did go. But he was like, I would not have chosen to go to that ride, even though it had a low wait time. I'm on the wrong side of the park.
Mhm.
And so it doesn't have that dialed in either, where you're like, I'm over here.
Right.
It doesn't even factor that.
Don't send me over here. Because to a lot of us, we zone Disney when we park. You go by zone and you go, okay, where are we going to go first? You do all of Tomorrowland. You go and do all of Fantasyland. You go and do all of you zone because you don't want to do this. Right. You're going to be more exhausted if you do this.
That's right.
Exactly.
You know, so that was one thing I thought was surprising when I was watching him that day. I was like, that's pretty interesting. That's not helpful.
No, and then not at all. I do like the mobile ordering. Because we could stand while we're waiting in line for something. And, hey, you only want a lunch at 1:00? Okay.
Yeah, that works out.
Order it and pick it up. So that was nice.
Something I had to get used to. My very first trip doing that was right before COVID hit in February of 2020. And I was with a girlfriend and it was just the two of us. And so she was mobile ordering everything. And as a cast member at the time, with my discount for my food, I would have to go and get my food. Right. And then I found out afterwards that my discount was built into, like, it knew I was a cast member in the app. Right. And so my discount was in there, just like if you were an annual pass holder or anything, it knew that. And so I was kind of bummed. I was like, oh, you mean I could have been doing that the whole time? Because I didn't know. I didn't get, because I thought I had to go up and to show my ID and to get my discount. And so that was a little disappointing because and that was my fault. I didn't know I could have been doing that. So she was over there mobile ordering everything. And I'm like, hold on, let me get in line.
Yeah.
But after that and during, later trips, I have learned how to use it properly. And it has been awesome. There was a few times where I'd go, I'm standing in line. The return time was within, 10 minutes. It's right then. I do my mobile order and I go walk up to the lady and there's a whole big old line. This was really evident at Pizza Planet over in Tomorrowland. There's this huge line going out the door and I walk up to mobile order and I was like, my time's in like 5 minutes. She goes, oh, let me fix that for you. She goes into her app, sets me up. I am already ready to go. And my screen turns blue and I walk in and I asked her, I was like, what's this other line? She goes, well, they've got to this is the standby line to order. I'm like, why aren't they using mobile ordering? And she goes, well, there's two reasons. One, if you have an allergy, you can't do an allergy order on mobile order. You have to go up to the counter. Right. Two, if you want to pay for cash. And I was like, oh, why would you not want a mobile order? Right. So that's the only time that it would be.
We did mobile ordering with allergy this time.
Yeah.
They actually have added allergy friendly into the mobile ordering.
If it was on the menu, you could pick it, if they had it on the menu. But most of the time, the allergy friendly stuff was after the drinks. You go down the regular menu,
all the way to the bottom.
Then it would hit the drinks, and then before you scroll through all the drinks, then it was the allergy friendly stuff.
Yeah, because that's what she was saying is that most people were that or cash, and I was like, oh. But a lot of the time, people just are not used to it yet, and they're just used to going and getting in line too. And so I would walk up, get my food, and walk out, and there was people, still the same people standing in line, and I was like,
they're probably hacking.
I'm sorry.
So fast. We've been sitting there for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Those are line drums.
Part of me wanted to walk up to each of them and I'm like, can I teach you how to do this better?
Right. Well, usually they have cast members out there to show people too.
Trying to, yeah. Disneyland's got a bit of a cast problem, the shortage
right now.
Yeah. They're having a hard time keeping it's staffed. And so there was definitely some moments where you could sense the shortages, and you were like,
Yeah.
So they're doing mobile ordering at Disneyland as well then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, they've been doing it.
When we went that last time, I don't think, at Disneyland.
Not in Disneyland. That was a while ago.
So that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was pretty new when I was there in February of 2020. So I hadn't been, when did I go before that? 2019 we went. So I had gone in March of 19, and I don't remember mobile ordering being there for March of 19. And then I went to Disney World of November of 19, and we did have mobile order then.
Okay.
So, yeah. So it's kind of interesting when they bring things in.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, hey, Danielle, it's been really nice talking to you. I mean, we could probably talk all night.
I could talk Disney
It's
for
just
hours. I don't even know what time it is.
It's just been a free for all, really. But it's been fun. It's been really fun.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much for having.
We'd like to do it again sometime.
Yeah, if you'd like to come on some other time and
yak with us,
take another trip or something, or want to talk about something, let us know. We'd love to have you on.
For sure. Thank you so much.
So so you're on Instagram. You want to tell everybody what your deal is on Instagram, or no?
Sure. So I'm Danielle's Fandom Faves, and it's mostly because I dabble in some other, it's not just Disney.
Right.
So we'll see some Star Wars and some other things as well.
Nice.
And so I also am an affiliate with getawaytoday.com. So if you're interested in booking a Disneyland trip, there's some links in my bio on Instagram to get to that. Hopefully I'll be getting my blog, danielsfandomfaves.com, up and running. It's there. It's just not exactly what I want it to be right now. So hopefully in the next few months, I'll be getting that up and running and all nice and pretty and new looking.
Nice.
And then a lot of the stuff that I do on there is just tips and tricks for the parks. But I also do a lot of really funny reels. That's kind of I just have fun making them. So that's, if you want a good laugh, that's a good place to go. I try to be a little silly on most of them. And so that's kind of me. And mom, I got 3 kids. And I love Disney. That's just where I'm at.
Awesome.
Very nice. Well, we're happy we got to know you and have a new Disney friend. And we'd like to keep in touch.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'd love that.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us on Living Disney this episode. And we hope you've enjoyed our free-for-all and Disney discussion. It's been awesome. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Keep the magic alive.
Bye-bye.
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 Hold on.